Good morning and welcome to today's meeting of the Development Review Committee. As usual, this will be run under the Council's remote protocol. It will be broadcast live on the Council's YouTube channel and it can be viewed there. If elected members want to raise their hands, if they're remote, please use the electronic function. The same applies to officers remote. And if you're in the chamber, raise your physical hand. Before I start, I'd like to welcome Councillor Ian McLaren to the committee. He has filled the vacancy after Councillor Fairweather's retiral. I think Councillor McLaren has been on development standards for quite a long time, and I think served on Dmrc in the last administration. So he sort of knows his way around the block, so to speak, on this one. So I'd like to welcome Ian to the committee.
Thank you for that, Convener.
We'll carry on with the rest of the meeting. So any apologies or substitutions?
No apologies, Convener.
Thank you. And declarations of interest or statements of transparency? Okay, I think we're shaking of heads there. Now, the minute of the previous meeting, I think we're talking about the 3rd of May and 10th of May. I was not at either of those meetings, so I'm relying on those that have been at those meetings to give me an affirmation that these meetings have been properly recorded. Okay.
Third. The third.
Well, I'm not hearing any objections, so I think we'll take these minutes as correct from Councillor Doran. I'd missed your hand there.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I was just going to say I was at both, and the minutes were correct.
Okay, that's perfect. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to the business of today. The first item is number 4 on the agenda. And apologies for the pronunciation, but Teach Fierme, Hill Houses, Strathmartin. And I'll hand over to Mr McGuinness, our planning advisor, to take us through this one.
Thanks, Convener. I'm just going to share my screen and you probably do a better job of pronouncing that than I will. So apologies to all members in those live stream if I get this wrong. Where is my screen share? Can committee see the screen?
Yeah, that's clear. Thank you.
The first case in front of you today seeks review of refusal of an application for planning permission in principle for the erection of a dwelling house. The application site is to the north of an existing residential property called Brenlin. I hopefully got that right, and measures around 570 square metres. There is an existing access tract which lies to the east of the site, farmland to the west, and residential dwellings to the north and south. An indicative site plan has been provided which indicates a dwelling would be located in the centre of the site, car parking in the north, and a septic tank and surface water soakaway located in the west of the site. The submitted application form indicates the dwelling would be connected to the public water supply network. Foul drainage would be directed to the septic tank, which would then discharge to land via a soakaway, and surface water drainage would be dealt with by Sustainable Urban Drainage Systems, SUDS. I can confirm that I've had no previous involvement in the application and I have no conflict of interest relevant to the case, applicant or any interested party before going forward. So I'm just going to take members through some of the slides of the development that are in their packs and also some pictures of the development to help members orientate themselves. So this is the location plan and this is where the proposed development would be in the description. For location plan context, where my cursor is roughly where the site is for members' orientation. This is kind of a proposed layout. I must remind members that this layout is not part of the application because it's a planning permission and principles. This is just to give members some context of the location, the siting of the house, and so on and so forth. There are no elevational drawings with this as it is a planning permission and principle application. So this is showing members the south boundary and the fence and existing structure on the site, and this is taken from the eastern boundary looking west. The north edge of the site looks as is in front of you, and that's looking towards south into one of the existing properties. Again, this is the northwest corner of the site, so just taken from a slightly different angle and within the site to show members of the surrounding agricultural land and the grassland of the site and the properties and the existing buildings there. This is taken from the northeast corner of the same location, just to give members a different orientation, just to show the immediate landscape and its proximity to the agricultural land and all the other field boundaries and the access track. This is the eastern side of the site and it's facing west, again showing you a different location of the existing buildings on the site and its location to the boundary fence with the neighbouring property. The western edge of the site, again, sort of taken from a different site from previous photographs. It's just showing you all of the agricultural buildings and other properties that are around there. And this is taken on out with the site just for members' orientation. This is showing the southern edge of the site, and that's the boundary fence I alluded to in the previous photograph, and that's showing the northern edge of the house called Brainland. It shows you the proximity to the sites together. This is the southern edge looking towards the access track, and it's looking north, and it shows you the other property to the site as well, just for members' orientation. This is the access track north of Windy Ridge, and that's facing south. So this is the entrance into the site. And this shows you the access track parallel to Teeth Ferm facing east. So this is where the site would be. And again, it's just a different picture of the same thing, just zooming into Brainland and showing you what it would look like from the opposite direction facing south. And I'm just going to stop sharing. So that comes to my presentation. Happy to take any questions from members, but back to you, convener.
Okay, thanks, Mr. McGuinness. Are there any questions for Mr. McGuinness on this one? Oh, sorry, Councillor Dorn, I was looking again at the wrong screen. On you go.
Don't worry, thank you. Yeah, I had two questions. The first one was regarding a statement that's in the information from the for the appeal, which relates to the fact that any drainage would be dealt with a building warrant. And I just wanted to clarify if that's correct from planning perspective. And my other question was just relating to the access that's noted in the summary as well. So I just wanted to kind of in your words regarding the previous application that's noted, which is 22/00833/PPPL, and that relates to the western boundary and the existing right of way that this application potentially covers.
So I'll deal with the easy one first for you, Councillor Doran. We'll go with the access one. You know that my service also contains all the access things. So our access officer has got detailed comments in the pack, but also in the summary of the case officer's view. So I would refer you to what the case officer said in the delegated report, because my advice to you would be exactly what the case officer has written and what's come from the officer in my service on that. So I would answer that one. In terms of the Soakaway, I might refer to Rhodes colleagues on this, but I am not a fan of how that would go through the building warrant application, because I'm not a building standards person, so I am not the right technical expert to ask on this. So I'm just being honest, I can't answer your question on that, but maybe anybody from the road service that is here today could answer that for you. Sorry, I can't be more help, Councillor Doran.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Would that be one that you could answer, Mr. Barnes, or from the...
Thanks, convener. So building warrant is actually part of the planning service, not the road service. But yes, a building warrant would be required for the Soakaway.
Okay, so that's kind of a separate matter, isn't it? We generally say we'll approve or approve something, and then it's up to the applicant to get the appropriate warrant. Am I correct in saying that? Yeah.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. Okay. So I think probably that's one we just have to park. Okay. Do members feel they have enough information on this particular one to determine it? Sorry, Councillor Nicholl. Sorry, I'm looking at the screen now. And
thank you, Convener. It's one for Mr. McGuinness. Is the site classed as a brownfield site or what?
Through you, Convener, and just to let people know that the live stream has kind of stopped for me. I don't know if it's the same elsewhere, it's just completely on the convener, isn't going to you, Councillor, but I'll try and answer your question until that technicality gets finished. The case officer report deals with the things about brownfield quite well, and I would refer you to that in the report. The definition of brownfield is a National Planning Framework 4, which the case officer has gone through in their summary of whether it's brownfield or not. What I would direct members to is that potentially from the case officer's report that the entire site is not really brownfield because it's got partial agricultural buildings on it and it is in a naturalised state. Therefore, it has kind of returned to nature, even if it was a brownfield site beforehand. So my response to that would be exactly what's in the case officer's report. I think that's a fair assumption of it. If I went any further, I would be directing committee or forming a view on it for you. So I'll just refer to the case officer's report in brownfield. I hope that helps, Councillor.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other views as to whether we've enough information? Well, Clarn.
I think a site visit would be quite helpful in this case.
Yes, I would agree. I would prefer to have a site visit.
Okay, thank you. I think that's certainly my view. I mean, we've seen quite a lot of applications of a similar nature to this one, and I think on most occasions a site visit has been really useful. So I think I would prefer to do a site visit here, an unaccompanied site visit, and if we could ask Ms Maley to organise that at a point, and we can have a look at it and then come back to this application. We all agreed with that approach? Okay, that's fine. I think we'll deal with that in that way. And we'll move on to the next item, which is item 5. And that is 3 Broomhill Wind, Monifieth. No problems with the pronunciation there. And over again to Mr McGuinness for the planning presentation.
Thanks, Convener. I just want to share again. Can everybody see my screen again? That's good. I'll take Councillor Doran nodding as the only thing I can see because I still can't see the rest of members because the live stream's still frozen for me. But I'll do my best. So the second case in front of members of committee today seeks the removal of condition 3 from planning permission reference 23/00516/FU.
Can I just stop you there? I think we're getting advice we should just pause the meeting until we can sort out the technical gremlins. So if I could just hold you there for a minute, Mr McGuinness.
That's okay.
John, could we stop?
back to you, Mr McGuinness, if you can just pick up where you were before.
John, can
I'll
you
just-
restart, please?
Thanks, convener. I'll just start again. So the second case in front of members of Cairn seeks the removal of condition number 3 for planning permission reference 23/00516/FU-LL for the conversion of an attached garage to form a home office, a single-storey rear extension and installation of a near source heat pump at through Bream Hill, Wynd, Montefief. As always, I can confirm that I have had no previous involvement in the application, have no conflict of interest relevant to the case, applicant or any interested party. So just for members' orientation, I'm just going to put condition 3 up front. And basically what condition 3, and I'll come on to the drawings in a minute, which will sort of put this in context for members, is that the flue as showing on the drawings noted in the thing in the condition is not improved. And the reason has been that it's not been demonstrated by the applicant that the flue would not result in any acceptable impact upon air quality or the amenity of the neighbouring properties, and as such would be contrary to policy DS4 and TC4 of the Angus Local Development Plan. So that's the condition as it is, and that is the condition that the applicant is seeking to remove through this review. So I apologise for how the slides have came forward on the PowerPoint from copying and pasting them from the pack. They are a bit fuzzy, but all of these drawings are in members' pack, so if they need to refer to them as I go through, feel free to do so. These show the location of the property in question, number 3, Broom Hill, Wynd, and it shows that it is a semi-detached property adjacent and attached to number 2 and surrounded by number 6. And I think that's 4 and 5 probably as well as 3 and 5. Not entirely sure of the numbers there, but you can see the properties surrounding it. These are just the applications that were application drawings that were submitted with the property. So this is the existing ground floor plan of number 3. And these are the existing north and sectional east elevations to show what the property looks like to members as it is, and the back elevations to show members as what it was before the application was submitted. This is showing what the proposed location would be, and this is the extension and home office that is described. And this is again just showing the elevations, and it's clearly showing what the extension would be and the flue. And what she's referred to in the condition. This is drawing number 007 that's referred to in the condition, and this is drawing 008 that's referred into the condition as well, and it shows a different orientation for the flue and the full back of it, of how it would look to the extension and the proximity of the extension to the neighbouring property number 2. These are just some front elevations on number 2 and number 3 Broom Hill, Wynd on the front, and this is number 3 in itself. These are befores and afters because the extension has got permission. It's just the flue that doesn't. So construction is underway. So this will show members a before and after of what it looks like, give you a bit more orientation. So this is the rear elevation taken from the public footpath. This is the applicant's actual picture from the drawings that are in front of you. And this is showing it towards number 6, Broom Hill, Wynd, which I showed in the previous slide. Again, this is just a different thing showing the orientation of the extension just from a slightly different angle so members get an idea of it and the proximity to number 2. And that is me taking you through a very short slide. Back to you, convener, and I'll stop sharing my screen. Happy to take any questions.
Okay, thanks, Mr McGuinness. Any questions for Mr McGuinness? Councillor Nicholl first.
Thank you very much, convener. Mr McGuinness, the flue, is that in the wood-burning stove, and is that proposed to be removed?
Yes, it is. At this current time, councillor, the wood-burning stove and the flue does not have permission, so they're not able to install that. Otherwise, enforcement action would be taken. So everything else has been approved apart from the flue, and that's what the condition is there to restrict that being installed.
One wee other question, not a question, but the heat source pump requires no flue at all, so there would be no emissions coming from it.
I would refer to environmental health to answer that question, but the air source heat pump has got a condition on it in terms of noise. But I would refer to environmental health to answer that question, councillor, and I believe somebody from environmental health is online as well.
Thank you, Mr McGuinness. Can you hear me okay? Hello?
Yes, we can,
Oh,
Martin.
froze there for a second. Right,
Got you loud
thank
and clear, yes. On you go, Mr Petrie.
Thank you, convener. Yeah, what Mr McGuinness says is correct. There is no flue from the air source heat pump. There can be a little bit of noise, but we'll have a condition controlling that.
Okay, thank you for that. I think we've also got Councillor Brays with a question.
Yes, I'm just wondering, convener, how would the appellant go about proving to our officer's satisfaction that the fumes from the flue wouldn't annoy anyone? What evidence would you be looking for and who from?
Is that one you can give us some guidance on, Mr Petrie?
Thank you, convener. We would be looking for a higher flue, basically. We will tend to object to any low-level flue. And I define low-level as where there are buildings which are higher than where the flue terminates. So were the flue to be at ridge level, like an old-fashioned chimney, then we would not object.
Okay, that is helpful, I think. Councillor Doran, you want to ask a question?
I didn't have my.
Sorry, it's Councillor Durno, I think, so not
He's
Councillor
getting
Doran.
his
Apologies.
days mixed up. Yeah, I just, the question I want to ask is, if he's not going to have a wood burning stove, why does he need a flue? What's going to be going up the flue if he's not having a wood burning stove?
Well, my understanding is he wants to have a wood burning stove, but the objection from environmental health is the flue is at ground level, not ridge level. That's the gist of it, isn't it? Right. And the advice I think from environmental health is that they will object unless the flue is sufficiently high to prevent there being a nuisance. Yeah. In the same way that if a house has a chimney, the chimney comes out at the ridge level.
Yeah. Can I ask a supplementary here?
On you go.
Is there not new government guidelines about putting in wood burning stoves into new houses? Is that not just people in the country that can have them, or is that not being made? I think
there is, but that's rather irrelevant because this is not a new house. This is a retrofit. So as far as I'm aware, the new regulations don't apply to that. And I don't know whether there's anyone here could you confirm this, Mr McGuinness? I mean, from reading the newspapers, it sounds like it's only new builds that are affected by the legislation.
I checked this question with the building standards manager the other day, convener, just in case it came up. It only refers to new builds and it is building standards regulations, not planning. So it's a separate process. So it's not a material planning consideration. Okay,
that's helpful. So this is not a new build. This is a retrofit, so isn't covered by this new legislation. Perhaps if I can ask a question of Mr Petrie, just to be absolutely clear in my own mind, your department will object to any application of this nature unless the flue is at a suitable height. Is that correct? That's a sort of black or white view.
Within a built-up area, convener, certainly. Where there's a detached property in the middle of the countryside with nobody around about it, we would not object in that instance. But in a built-up area with close neighbours, yeah, we would object.
Okay, that's helpful. I think that clarifies things for me. So, do we have enough information to determine this appeal or not? I think we're all agreeing that we have enough information now to determine this one. Views from the elected members. I'll maybe go to Councillor Doran first because it is in her patch. So over to you, Councillor Doran.
Thank you. We've already had another case with a wood burning stove to Dmrc, which had similar objections to it, which was rejected. So my view would be similar on this one. I think the height and the emissions in built-up areas are really important that we need to consider. And based on the information from environmental health, I would go with that. I think this condition needs to stand.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Nicholl.
Thank you, Convener. I have to agree with Councillor Dorn, but as previously been a builder, I would recommend if the wood burning stove was to be in, it would have to be approximately 900 above the highest bit of the roof, and it would be impractical and to install, and I would be against them installing the wood burning stove for the simple reason they will smoke out the neighbours, in my opinion.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McLaren.
Yes, thanks, Convener. Yes, I agree with my fellow councillors on this one. It should just be rejected.
Okay, Councillor Durno.
Yeah, similar. I just feel you don't know, you could get new neighbours in time, and I just feel it's not, there's something not right about this, so I really don't think it should go through. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Brace.
Well, like others, I don't really have a problem with the idea of wood-burning stoves, but I do have an issue where the fumes from the flue might affect and annoy neighbours. The flue would have to be of such a height to avoid that it might be impractical. So, but that would be up, you know, if the appellant can find a way of doing it to the satisfaction of the planning department, then they have the opportunity to reapply or whatever. But I would reject this for those reasons. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. We're obviously here. We're considering the applicant is asking to remove condition 3, and I think the view is pretty universal that we should not remove condition 3. And I think Councillor Dorn rightly remarks that we actually visited something in Carnoustie not that long ago when it was a very similar case, and the same issue was that objections from environmental health related to the positioning of the flue, and it wasn't high enough. And we certainly looked at other ones in that area which were cited to us as reasons why we should approve the application, but in each case the flues were at ridge height, so we weren't comparing apples with apples. So yeah, I think we've agreed that we will reject the appeal, and we will ensure that condition 3 is still valid for the reasons in the report. Okay, we all agreed with that. You got enough record there? Okay, that's great. That's item 5 disposed of. We'll now move on to item 6, which is Balrownie Farmsteading, EC, item 6. And that is on page 253. So over to you, Mr. McGuinness, on this one.
Thanks, Convener. I'll share the screen again. I think everybody can see it. I hope Councillor Doran nods her head and I can see. Okay, the last case in front of committee this morning seeks planning permission for the conversion and alteration of a former steading to form a single dwelling house with ancillary internal annex at Balgownie Farmsteading in Essie. The application site measures some 4,600 square metres, and the proposal also includes the refurbishment of an existing timber woodshed and the erection of a large tree house, as well as landscaping and boundary treatments. The existing walls of the steading would be retained on the south and west elevations, along with a smaller section on the east elevation. The remains of the roof structure would be removed and replaced with cotton steel cladding and timber cladding, and these materials were also to be used on some of the walls, along with significant areas of glazing. The overall height would be similar to the existing ridge height of the building as it is. An area of ground would be excavated adjacent to the south elevation to allow for additional accommodation to be provided, with additional openings being formed. Private drainage arrangements and suds are proposed with a connection to the public water supply also being provided. Surface water and foul water soakaways are proposed to the north of the site. I can confirm that I've had no previous involvement in the application and that I have no conflict of interest relevant to the case, applicant or any interested party. So I'm going to take members through some drawings and photographs. That there are quite a lot of photographs to give members orientation, so if you bear with me, that would be much appreciated. So this is showing the location plan of where the steadings are and the sort of proposed orientation of it in the field that is described in the opening thing. These drawings are all in the members pack as well, so if you can't see the sort of text within it, you can pull those up at your own discretion. This shows where passing places are required. That's in the report as a requirement of roads, and to make the access roads safe and passable. So you'll see more pictures of this when we come to them. This is the existing site plan and the existing tree coverage of the site. It's a bit messy. It's a bit messy, if you want to put it that way, with all of the colours and everything on it, but generally the purple and little lines are the contours of the site, just for members and information. This shows you where the timber woodshed, the frame Dutch farm building is, and the existing buildings where the older collapsed sheds and partially collapsed barns are. This is the existing steading sections. It's showing it just from different orientations from north, east, west and south. This is the existing steading floor plans. It's showing the woodshed, the Dutch barn building and the existing layout of the site as it is. Again, some more of the existing steading elevations. And this is the existing Dutch barn and woodside drawings, just to show members this, and you will see this in the pictures as I come to them. This is showing you what the proposed site would look like. Again, it's got different colours on it to allocate different things as the key. Sorry, it's a bit fuzzy for people reading the key, but it is in the packs. And this is just showing you what the site would look like, looking at it from above. These are what the drawings would look like now in terms of the converted elevations. As you can see, a lot of the corten steel, the timber cladding, the windows as described, is all the way around the building. This is the proposed ground floor plan. It just shows how it would be converted, where the living areas are, kitchen areas, buildings, utilities rooms, and so on and so forth would be, and where the woodshed would be restored. It's the proposed first floor plan, which again just shows you the locations of bathrooms, bedrooms, lounges, so on. And just the proposed elevations, again, just showing you different orientations of the building because it is kind of a square building. And these are the proposed boundary treatments and sections at the south elevation, just showing what the landscaping plan would be and what the, as was described, and what it would look like. This is the proposed treehouse deck and platform that's referred into the description. And this is just showing you what it would look like and what it's proposed. So onto the picture. So this is showing you the north elevation facing southeast. The Dutch barn is to my right, where I'm hovering my cursor, if everybody can see it. This just shows you the yellow sign says the building is dangerous and not to go into it, if members are wondering what that says. That's just showing that it is risk of collapse. It shouldn't be approached. This is just a more focused one, showing the condition of the building and what is still standing and what has fallen off. This is just showing you the east elevations of the open-sided steel Dutch frame barn, one of our sort of zoomed out, one zoomed in, just to give members an idea of how big it is and the condition of it. This is taken in from inside the frame of the Dutch barn and it's facing northeast, again just to show members how big the barn is. This is the west elevation facing northeast, of just showing members again different sides of the building of what it looks like and its condition. And again the west elevation facing southwest, where you can see the partially collapsed roof, just to show, you know, again the condition that the building is in. South portion of the west elevation, again it's the similar, you know, flow of the last picture, but it's showing it a bit further down just to show the extent and a bit closer. These are the east and south elevations facing southwest. Again, it shows the condition of the building, what's collapsed. Again, the east elevation from the site. This shows you the east and north elevations, and it shows you the collapsed timber shed and the proposed access to the site, and it's facing northeast. This is the east elevation, and it's looking into the middle of the site, so members can see what it looks and within the site. Again, this is looking into it in a bit more depth. This part is still quite dangerous, so you have to watch what you're doing within it, but precautions were taken when getting these pictures. This is showing the collapsed timber shed facing east, showing the existing building and adjacent properties. The collapsed timber shed showing it from a different location to show members kind of the immediate surrounds, and that's facing northeast. And this is showing you the proposed main access to the site, also showing the proximity to the access to the site to the existing cottages. This is showing it from a different angle of where it would come, and the access is proposed here, and it takes out of the shared access with the existing property. Again, just showing members what it looks like and how it curves round for the access. So as you can see, it snakes round and through like you would expect, and that's one Balgony cottages. And this is just showing the main road access to the site facing east and west, so members get an idea of the sort of sight lines to it. And I'm just going to stop sharing there and hand back to convener. I'm happy to take any questions, but what I should do before I finish is advise committee that one of the objectors to the application, that Mr. and Mrs. Grant, admitted additional information in relation to flood risk in relation to this review that was not in front of the case officer or roads at the time of the decision. This information can be found in the PDF paper starting at page 1003 and ending on page 1029 from the page numbers that I am looking at. Should members agree to allow this further information to be considered, I would be grateful if the convener would bring me back in later so I can provide this to the committee on this matter. But I thought it was important to note, committee, that there is new and additional information from one of the objectors that is there that might be relevant to the case. Thank you.
Right, thank you, Mr. McGuinness. That's noted. I see Councillor Dorn with her hand up, so if you can maybe go over to Councillor Dorn at the moment.
Thank you. My question relates in part to some of the information about drainage, but it refers directly to the infiltrating testing and the accuracy relating to that. And I just wanted to clarify, because obviously there's an awful that this is an application with a lot of information with it, and I wanted to clarify whether or not that follow-up information that I believe was requested was received.
Do you know about this, Mr. McGuinness?
I know that there was a lot of information received, but I would pass that to one of the flooding officers for roads that was here, because they would be better placed to see if the information that was requested was received and it was adequate enough. I can only go with what's in the packs.
I guess we've got a question. I see Mr. Brown is on the call, who perhaps would be we could certainly ask his views on these matters. So are you prepared to give us your view on this, Mr. Brown, at the moment? I mean, I think I've probably got some other questions for you, but I think on this particular matter.
During the application stage, the further information was not provided to my knowledge. I do see reference to appeal document GP09, which I have not had the benefit of seeing, but it appears to refer to a new drainage impact assessment and potential proposals by Nimbus engineering consultants.
Okay, so this new information you've not seen. I guess we've got the question that Mr. McGuinness raised is the additional information provided on pages 1003 to 21. Do we wish to consider that information? My own view is this seems to relate to drainage, and that seems to be one of the issues. So I would have thought we should look at it. I'd like to come back before we move any further to Mr. Brown, and if I look at the reasons for the rejection decision, the refusal decision on page 270. It's contrary to policy PV12 of the Angus Local Development Plan and policies 18 and 22 of MPF4. because it's not been demonstrated that appropriate drainage provision can be made, and that the development would not materially increase the probability of flooding to existing or planned development. Now, I understand the first part of that guidance or reasoning. I don't really understand the second part. Can somebody explain to me what that means? Because I don't understand it.
Sorry, Convener, I'm just quickly trying to get that answer for you, unless Mr. Brown has it. It'll be in the case. Sorry, Andrew.
No, that's okay. So there were recommendations in the flood risk assessment, which was prepared as part of the planning application. The flood risk assessment did not accompany the initial drawings, so there were outstanding changes required as a result of the recommendations contained within the flood risk assessment, particularly in relation to freeboard and protection of overland flood routes, namely requirement for the timber woodshed not to be rebuilt, wall not to be rebuilt, a proposed wall not to be built on the overland flow route, no further new barriers to flow, also measures to protect the packaged treatment plant from flooding, which was cited within the overland flow route, and in addition to that, drainage proposals for the overland flow route, because they could not be drained to a soakaway because there would be an overwhelming volume of water which would flood any soakaway system.
Okay, thanks. And can I ask? I mean, can I ask you to comment if we go to page 262, we have got the advice from the Roads Flooding Service, and on page 318 we have got the view of SEPA. Now, my reading of both of those is there is no issue. Can we start it initially at the 262, which is the advice from Roads. I'll just see if I can pull it up here. So, Angus Council Roads flooding. No objections subject to the following condition items being met. That suggests that Roads are saying there isn't a problem. Is that right?
We offered no objection on the basis that the recommendations from the flood risk assessment were all met. However, they would still have to demonstrate that that was possible to meet. One of them included a freeboard requirement of 600 millimetres above proposed flood levels. And that's obviously a significant difference to the original planning drawings. So that would be a material concern as to whether that is possible. Would also consider it a material concern as to whether the drainage information could be provided. If that can't be provided, that would be a material point. Need to demonstrate that the site can be adequately drained.
Okay, and then on page 318, we've got the view from SEPA. So let me pull that up. Yeah, apologies, my computer's been a bit temperamental this morning, but the okay. Oh dear me, it's very temperamental. So the SEPA advice seems to be, we have no objection to the proposed development. However, please note our advice provided below. And there is then a series of points made by SEPA. I'm a little bit confused because both our own service and SEPA are taking the view that there is no issue. There is no issue providing there are certain conditions met. That's my reading of it, but I'm not sure. Have I got that wrong?
Convener, I can sort of say basically what SEPA are saying, they have no objection, as you've said, but please note our advice provided below. It's kind of similar to what Mr. Brown had said, even though there is a no objection at this point, subject to all of these things being considered and all of these things being met. If they aren't, what Rhodes and SEPA would say they are likely to object. That's the way it's sort of phrased when you see it. It's no objection to subject to this. However, if this isn't provided subject to the Roads Authority as the flooding authority, they will object to it. They would have objected to it. And those conditions would have to be discharged. If those conditions weren't discharged or the information wasn't the same, then again, you know, the application wouldn't be able to go forward because Roads wouldn't be satisfied that all of these things were met. I'll let Mr. Brown come back in just to make sure that my summary of that is correct from his point of view.
Yeah, I think over to you, Mr. Brown. So just to summarise where I think my understanding is, there is sort of no objection in principle from the two parties, but what you're saying from Roads Department is there are certain aspects of the design that you're uncomfortable with. Is that kind of where we are?
Yeah, that's correct. We wouldn't, if that information was not able to be provided, it wouldn't demonstrate that the site could be developed in accordance with MPF 4 and policy PV12. So in the absence of that information being provided, we would object.
So what we're saying at the moment is you have not got the appropriate information to satisfy yourself that this can be developed without a flood risk. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, that's helpful. So any further questions for officers here on this one? Councillor Brace? No?
No, it's not. It's more of a comment, really.
Okay, right. Councillor Nicholl has his hand up.
Thank you, Convener. The fear seems to be that that the septic tank and the soakaways are going to get flooded on very rare occasions. This new information that's come forward about the drainage, would that alleviate any chance of the septic tanks and the soakaways getting flooded?
That's a question for you, Mr. Brown, because I certainly can't answer it.
Unfortunately, I couldn't say that without reviewing that additional information. However, that's not the only information that would still be outstanding. Would also require updated drawings to reflect the additional freeboard requirements, and also the changes to the boundary treatment, the overland flow path not having any additional walling, or the timberwood shed rebuilt on it. So it may address some of those points. However, there are still further points in which we would require information.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Brown. Councillor Dorn?
Thanks. I wanted to note that we're obviously being asked to review something here where we're noting that there's incomplete information, so we're not getting a full full picture. Just wanted to ask what our steps could be here. Do we have to determine it based on what we've got today, or is there a chance to ask for further information, or is that chance already been given to the applicant to respond to that? Just wanted to clarify that. Thanks.
Yeah, I think Mr. McGuinness, can you give us some advice on that position?
Members are entitled to ask for further information to help them determine the case, but as Mr. Brown has said, this would lead to fundamental alterations to the drawings in front of them, and therefore, in my view, you should not be determining that that is a new application. It is a fundamental variation that cannot be addressed by non-material variations in the planning system. Any changes to the red line boundary, the drawings that have been submitted, the applicant should have done at the time the decision was live, or withdrawn it to resubmit at a different time. Therefore, I would strongly suggest that members do not ask for further information, because you don't have the powers to determine that application. It'd be determining two different applications. I would suggest that if members are minded, I would just, getting lost in my thoughts, I would go back to my thing that if you're asking for further information to fundamentally alter the planning application that was in front of the case officer, then that is a new application and members should not go down that route. But I will also ask the legal advisor just to make sure that she is happy with me saying that as well.
Over to you, Ms. Burns.
Yes, I concur with what Anthony McGuinness has said there. Members can ask for further information at any time before a decision is reached. However, in this instance, it would appear that what is being suggested is information which changes the nature of the application itself.
Okay, thank you. So I think the strong advice from both planning and from legal is that the application is flawed, and we can't determine it competently without more information, and that more information would change the application. And what the applicant should do is submit a clean application with all that information in it, and then it can be determined competently. And I think that leaves us with little choice but to reject the appeal. Does anyone disagree with that? Councillor Brace?
No, I would concur with you entirely, convener. It's like it's back to the drawing board. Thanks.
Okay, are we all also minded? So we would reject application 21/00081 full, really for the reasons that are recorded in the report, and the discussion we've had this morning, that Mr. Brown doesn't feel he has enough information to support the application, and therefore there is a flood risk. And it's really up to the applicant to submit a new competent application to us. At the moment, we can't accept the one because there's information we need to have that we haven't got. I think that's the situation. So I think that application for appeal is rejected. You've got enough information there? I do. Okay, right. I think that concludes business today. Thanks for your attendance, and I'll wish you a good rest of the day.
Thanks, Convener. Thanks, members.
Thank you.